Hey everybody, Drew Richardson here with ASR Miniature Art to go over another 2-day Grand Tournament review. This time we're discussing a Kings of War event here in Oklahoma called the Bison Brawl GT. Kings of War, as you guys are probably familiar with by watching my other videos, is a rank and file tabletop strategy game. And the Bison Brawl event is its fourth annual 2-day event for that game here in my home state of Oklahoma. It was hosted by Andrew Minton this year and the rest of our club, the OK Crew, and the newly founded Sons of Drew. We've gotten an uptick of new players in my area, specifically in the city I'm in, so they decided to put us into two different clubs and call us the Sons of Drew, which was pretty funny. And I've talked to some of the guys about that, and I think we're going to stick with it. I think it sounds like a fun name, and we'll just keep rocking and rolling with it. I think the Disciples of Dustin is where the name kind of came from. Dustin's an awesome guy down in Texas who has a group in his area that he's been trying to teach and help grow. So I'm happy to be the Oklahoma Dustin because that's a big compliment. So anyhow, so Bison Brawl. It was also hosted specifically at the Edmond Unplugged Game Store here in Oklahoma, Edmond, Oklahoma. So big shout out to Mike and his team that took care of us all weekend and hosted us. They provided food or served us food, I should say, at their store, alcohol, a great place to play, and just a really awesome atmosphere. So thanks so much, guys, for helping us out with that. Now, with that being said, the event itself is not just a standard Kings of War event. It is the missions and stuff are fine. They're right out of the book. But we get an event mini, so a unit specifically designed for the event. And this year, I don't know about just this year, it's almost always a bison. So a large cavalry model that has some kind of special rules and stuff. And this year specifically, at least I don't recall this being any time before, the model's rules changed every round. I do not remember all of the special abilities that it had every round. But for the most part, it was like a speed 6 to 8, hitting on 3s at 5 attacks, and had some like different spells and stuff every round. Most of the time did not inspire. It inspired like one round. But anyway, so there's just something kind of fun and interesting to make us have to think on our feet a little bit. And for the most part, none of the times I played with the Bison, it seemed like it was very, didn't feel like it was broken or anything like that. It was just a lot to keep track of. I think that was a lot of people's concern, especially my new guys. They were like, I don't want to have to keep track of this thing's stats that change every round. Now, Andrew did a really good job of putting the change stats on our score sheets for us, so we weren't having to go back and forth between the player packet to fill them out. If you want to know the specific details of the player pack and get an understanding of the rules for them, I would check out Master Sight's YouTube channel, which is ran by Adam Ballard, who's the one of the main figures in our region, and he does a review before the events and goes over like kind of the player packet and his thoughts on it. So he goes over each of the Bison abilities and stuff there. So if you want to check it out, go look at his YouTube. I'm sure he'd love to have you guys over there checking it out. So that is, and also it's 2,250 points instead of 2,300. So the goal of the event, from what I've understood it, is that it's supposed to kind of break people out of the normal mold. We don't want just a stock event that everybody can kind of just come to and play the same thing they run all year. It's supposed to mix things up, and that's neat. I like that. So yeah, with that, I'll tell you guys about my experience with the event. I'll kind of go over the weekend as a whole and some of the fun stuff I had, and also each of my rounds and my opponents and kind of what happened to them. And of course, as we're going through all this, I'll add photos to the video during editing so you guys can kind of see the games I had exactly. So the weekend was pretty cool for me because it was like 5 minutes from my house, so I was able to get back and forth from the venue without any kind of problems, and I knew where everything was at, and I was able to help also some of our out-of-towners navigate the landscape a little bit and understand, places to go eat, and we'd all try to go eat together, or, if they couldn't, I'd be like, hey, here's some options near your hotel you found. And I specifically had Adam Ballard and Sean Vilmont staying at my home, just crashing on my couch and my floor. Adam's several times let me stay at his place of residence when I go up to Nebraska, so I felt like I owed him one. And they're both really great guys. I've hung out with them both at almost every event I've been to this year, so I was super happy to have them come over. So we just went to dinner every night and hung out at the house and had a good time. We also had Jared Holcomb and Austin Howell from Kansas come down Saturday night, as well as one of my locals, Ethan Allen, and also Matt Carmack from the Texas group was dropped off, and we all just had some good laughs and some pizza and some alcohol and just had a lot of fun. So always love that part. It felt nice to be able to give that back because I feel like I go to a lot of events and I'm catered to. So it's always nice to be able to host an event or help host an event and kind of provide some stuff for people that you're being taken care of or taken care of by all year. So that was really cool. And they're also just really great people, so it was fun to have them around. So going into the games specifically, round one, I played against Dustin Howard, who was bringing his Night Stalkers list, and of course I was bringing my Behringer. I guess I could go over my list real quick, actually. Not too different than what I've been running all year, just some slight tweaks. So I was running the Behringer formation with the 2 Mammoth Separators and Slicksnare. Did not have the items on the Mammoth Separators, though, this time. They were naked. And then Slicksnare didn't have a Fox. He just had his 6 attacks and then the Axe of the Giant Slayer and the Brutal upgrade in Aura. So didn't pay for the Fox, but it didn't come up too much. I would normally pay for the Fox going forward, but I didn't feel like he just couldn't be as bold going into moves. So then I also brought 3 units of Snow Foxes, 3 regiments. I brought a Dragger regiment, and I brought 2 Huskarl or Human Clansmen with the Hearthguard upgrade regiments. I also brought 2 Sons of Korgan with the Brutal upgrade, as well as Brew of Sharpness and the J Boots, Sir Jesse's Boots of Striding. And then I brought a new addition that I actually am really, really happy with and will be running more and possibly additional units of, is the Tundra Wolves, who are like Speed 9, hit on 3s, Pathfinder, Nimble, Thunder 1. Super good unit. Did a lot of work for me almost every game. So really happy to have brought those. My Magus with Lightning Bolt didn't get Bane Chant this time. I had my Bison, which you don't pay for that, it's just free. Krufnir, and I think that was about it. Yeah, I think that was it. I think that was pretty much my whole list. So the 4 regiments of the 5 regiments of cavalry, the 2 regiments of infantry, a bunch of heroes, and a bunch of chaff, basically. So Dustin and I's game unfortunately did not get to unfold. Dustin got an emergency about, I think, at the middle of our turn 1. His father had an accident happen, and so he needed to leave. So definitely, looking out for him. Thoughts and prayers with his family. I hope everything turned out okay. But unfortunately, I did not get to play that game. And so, of course, real life aside, because there's nothing worse than what was going on. Had an accident from family is a big deal. But that aside, I still really hated the fact that I didn't get to play the game. So the reason for that is because I feel like as a player I've gotten a lot better this year, and I feel like my list is a very good list, and I've not really, I felt like, been able to test that list against an incredibly high caliber of player. And by that I mean people who have won not only one event, but multiple events. Dustin wins several events. So I was really looking forward to, even losing to him, but getting to learn a ton because he'd be able to pick my list apart and kind of give me some advice on what to do and if there was anything I messed up on and things like that. So, but of course, I get it. An emergency happened, and so I ended up getting the bye. I believe they gave me the average points of the win that round or whatever, like what the average win was. So I think it was like 17 points. So no big deal. I do have photos here of our deployment, so there's some stuff to analyze there. I feel like the goal for my game was he outpaced me. So, and I believe he did get first. I'm pretty sure he got first. So he was able to outpace me with a lot of his speed in his army, but I had a lot more chaff and screens. So I feel like, and that's something that's going to be a running theme of the event, is I did not get first turn a ton throughout the event that I can remember. I may have got 2 of my 5 games, so about half. I guess that's normal. But I had a lot of people that were bringing Alpha Punch armies that I feel like if I would have went first, they'd have been in a lot harder of a spot. But me getting second, I was still able to choose engagements because I brought enough screens or extra units. So his army had a lot of hard hitting power and mobility, but he was going to just end up clashing into either bad engagements that he may not win, or chaff and screens that I can just be like, I'll throw these away, and then I'll hit you with who matters, and then kill you. So now, not to say that's how the game would have went, and if he listens to this, hey, tell me if I'm wrong for sure, man. But I feel like that's where the game was at for me. And we were all right. You can already tell that, like, with the way that he was moving. I mean, he got to move most of his army. I think we got through his entire movement, and the entire. We were playing Invade, I think, as well. And so it's like, okay, well, we don't need to get anywhere until the very end of the game. And so we had the exact same unit strength. So his goal, he told me, was to kill one unit and then just dive everybody over, and then it's on to me then to keep people back and kill stuff. So, which is a smart plan. But you can tell from his initial movement, and also what I was thinking on my first turn. I didn't get it, but what I was planning to do was very cagey, very very cagey game. So, really wish I could have got to play that out. Hopefully, Dustin and I get to play sometime in the future. I feel like I've even improved from this event, so that just means the next time we play, it'll be even a harder game. So that was my round one. Round two was against Austin Howe from, I think it's the Sick Bastards, but it's Kansas. It's a good friend of mine. Him and Jared come down to a lot of the one days that I do, and I see them at a lot of events. I've known them for years. Austin's a super awesome guy. I don't think we've gotten to play since last year, one of my one days. So he was bringing Undead, and I think he brought, it was 2 hordes of Wraiths, or Whites, whatever the large infantry is, I can't remember. I think it's Wraiths. No, it's Whites. It's Whites. He brought 2 hordes of Whites. He brought 2 Soul Reaver regiments. He brought 2 spear blocks, skeleton spearmen, 2 zombie regiments, I think a Zunok Iceblood, a Necromancer, a Vampire on Foot, a Vampire on Pegasus, and I feel like that was it. Again, I apologize, guys. I don't remember 100% of this. Our game, we were playing, I think it was Pillage? No. It was Salt the Earth. So we put our tokens down on the ground, and what ended up happening is, in that game, I had put a Dragger unit in my cavalry on a far left flank where there were 2 tokens, but he mirrored that with a White Horde and his Vampire on Pegasus. Basically, what ended up happening is I ended up trying to jam him up. It happened really too early, so he was able to kill all my stuff over there without having to care. But I was able to burn one of the tokens, and so he couldn't just leave somebody behind to score. He then had to. He basically was out of the game for I think 4 turns. So I lost some units, but I wasted his time. Now with that, the right flank, my right side, was where a lot of the tokens were at that we ended up fighting over, and it basically just turned into a series of cascading charging. So like I would charge kill something, and then be able to shift around, and then he would like move stuff around, and then I'd have to charge something I didn't want, and then he'd charge me, and so yeah, it was a very back and forth trade war, and I ended up just winning the trade war. A lot of the units I had that necessarily weren't going to kill him didn't also die. And so I was able to buy myself a lot of time, and I ended up winning that game 2-1. And I can't remember the exact points I got. I think it was 16 to 6 or something. I can't exactly remember the tournament points. We were doing blackjack scoring for the event. Really hard fought game. Austin's a great player, and he's been playing Undead for a long time. So any chance I get to play him is always good, and then also being able to beat him is also a pretty rewarding experience, because I know he's beaten me plenty in the past, and I know the kind of player that he is. So I was really happy to get to play him, and also to be able to beat him. Especially the last time we had played, I brought a different army, but it was still Northern Alliance instead of Berenger, so similar style. This is pre-2023 update though, but I hit his army like a brick wall and didn't do anything. And so I feel like I was able to navigate the scenario a lot better. His list was different as well. He didn't bring as tanky of a wall, but he brought a lot of extra like chaff and stuff, and those phalanx bricks hurt, especially when I'm running a lot of cavalry. I think a lot of it for me came down to some very favorable units that just didn't die, and so they were able to grind out a turn longer than they were supposed to, which then allowed my other units to be in a position to punish where Austin was at. So we both had a pretty rough go of what was alive. It was almost my games. It was, you know, hardly anybody had anything left alive. It seemed like most of my games. I don't think anybody that I played with got more than +1 on their attrition scores. So, anyhow, that was my game with Austin. Really fun time. Had a blast. Round 3 was against Aaron Chapman. This was a mirror match, Varinger versus Varinger. We brought a lot of the same units, but there was definitely some distinction in our list. He brought the formation with the 2 mana separators and Slicksneer, and then he brought 3 Sons of Korgans units. And I believe it was a J-Boot, a Sharpness, and a Strength unit. Or one of them maybe instead of Sharpness, maybe it was Elite. I can't recall, but he had them stacked. They were fully loaded out. He brought another Lord on horse and Magnild. He brought 2 regiments of Night Raiders with bows. He brought 1 regiment of Tundra Wolves, I think, as well. And so what ended up happening is the game came down to where I think we both had 2 scoring units left, and we were playing. What were we playing? I think it was Smoke and Mirrors, or the one where the tokens get revealed what they're worth. And so what ended up happening is that he ended up winning 3-0. If I wasn't trying to go for broke, it would have been 3-1, but the scoring didn't matter. If a 2-point difference, a 3-point difference was still only a +1, -1. What ended up happening is we basically just hit each other like trucks, deleted everything. His 3 heroes, the Magnield, the 2 Lords, would charge into something and kill it every turn. That's 20. It was like 21 attacks, hitting on 3s. 7 of those had elite, crush 2, so typically wounding on 3s. So, and he would Bane Chant somebody with his Bison. And so, because the Bison had Bane Chant like every game, I'm pretty sure. And it just was a slog. Now, at the same time, my Tundra Wolves were able to charge a Sons of Korgan unit with Bane Chant, or they got Bane Chanted, pick it up, kill it, turn around, next turn kill a Mammoth Separators. They're dead. Next turn after that, already wounded, but still kill the Sons of Korgan unit. Like, they were just picking up stuff. And so, if I would have had those Tundra Wolves lived a lot longer, I would have probably won, but I needed 1 more turn with them. But they're pretty fragile, and those 3 heroes he had can always pivot to C, so he was able to pick them up. But it ended up happening to where I had a Draugr unit that could move into range of a token without having any kind of threat, but I was the second player. So if we would have rolled on for turn 7, though, it would have been in threat, and he would have died. So I was in a situation where turn 6, I had a wavered Bison and a Draugr unit. He had a wavered Mammoth Separator and a Bison. And so those are the only things scoring on the table. And he had 2 points, a 2-pointer with his Bison and a 1-pointer with his Mammoth Steps. And so I was like, okay, well, my Bison's wavered. So what I'll do is, since the points don't matter right now, the difference of 3 or 2, I was going to hope for a turn 7 and then move my Draugr into scoring range and hope that my Bison could move to get to an objective, and hopefully it didn't get wavered or killed, or maybe even charge his Bison. We didn't get the turn 7, so I lost 3-0. But again, it didn't really matter, the difference in the points. So very close game. I mean, again, like there were, I think 7, or there were 8 units on the board out of, I think like 32 or something, or not 32, maybe like 30. And so, I mean, it was, and only 2 of them were scoring. It was a bunch of heroes and stuff. So, I mean, it was a slog, and I think we had a difference of like 100 points or 400 points out of something really small. We got 0 on attrition, so, and the game was super fun, and I feel like I was one of the better games I've played, and I asked Aaron about that, and he didn't really seem to have anything to say about if I, had anything I really screwed up on, so I felt good about it. It was a good loss. I can't remember the points, but I think it was like, a 7-point loss, which is pretty good. So round 4 was against Justin. I remember Justin Robbins, I think. He's one of the Texas guys from the Logs team. Super good guy. Super good player. The whole Logs team is just stacked. They're a really good team, in my opinion. and he's helped me a lot. Justin has. We talk at a lot of events. I go to a lot of Texas events, and I see him at a lot of them. It's the first time we've got to play, I think, but we've talked a lot, and we've really got into tactics, and he's helped me a lot with like having game plans about games, and I really appreciate that. And so he was playing as ogres, and his list was like 2 Siegebreaker hordes, 2 regiments of not Siegebreakers. I don't honestly remember what they're all called. A giant, croc dog, Namagrak, and 3 ogre shamans, which that whole thing already, I hate that so much. I think he had a ogre bully, and I think that was it. And we were playing loot, which is I believe it was loot. It's the 5 tokens that are in the middle, and then after deployment, or after we find out who's deploying where, we take turns picking one to be worth 2 points. And so we ended up having the 2 on, I believe, my left were worth 2 points, and the other 3 were worth 1. The game came down to, I believe it was 3-2. I ended up having some pretty good engagements on my end to where my bison was able to charge one of his, I think it was one of his bullies, killed it, and then was in the flank of a giant that couldn't get around to stop me. And then I was able to kill that giant, and I took over an entire left flank. And then I was grinding him out in the middle and the right, because he only had 2 regiments in the 2 units in the right, a hero and a horde, and I had Krufnir in my formation pretty much, and some Draugr. Where the game didn't go my way was I had basically a turn where I charged a bunch and didn't kill anything. I didn't get any clapback and die, but it basically stalled me. It wasted a turn of the game for me. And the game, if we would have had one more turn of the game, I'm almost certain I could have maybe changed what had happened. And we've got a turn 7, but or no, we didn't get a turn. We got a turn 6. But if I would have had one more turn to, I mean, even then, 2 turns with a turn 7, or if I had a turn that did get wasted, I feel like I probably would have won the game. Because I ended up controlling the entire left flank, and I was in a pretty solid spot, I feel like. And a lot of the stuff I lost at the end of the game was Hail Marys that, like, I was going to lose them, but I was losing the game anyways. And that's kind of where I'm at with a lot of situations I'm in, where it's like, well, if I'm already going to lose, I need to go for broke. And so, because I'm not going to tie either. So I went for broke, didn't pay off, ended up losing 3-2. Super, super close game. It's probably the best game I had all weekend, to be honest with you. Very clean play from both players. I feel like nobody really made any obvious mistakes. Sometimes things just happen with dice, and then also like big shield's a really hard thing to get around. Defense 6 is super hard, even if you are a Crush 1, Thunder 1 Cav army. I just had a lot of things that, like, if I would have just gone a little bit more or rolled a little, like one, I would roll a little bit over or a little hot once or twice, then the game's mine. But it's definitely not something worth being upset about. I think I played really well, and I'm proud of my performance there. I think a lot of it for me, and this is something we'll talk about near the end because I've got another game to discuss, but there's some things about my list that I'm starting to realize, and I noticed it at Best of the Rest, and it was kind of pointed out to me by one of my opponents, and I'm starting to see that it is going to be a continual trend with my list at tournaments, and I don't know that I like it. So I'll put a footnote on that, and we'll talk about my game 5 because it addresses some of this too, and then we'll discuss what that issue is. So my round 5 was against Zach. I think Zach's last name's Clark. He's another Texas guy that I've known for a long time. Really fun guy. He used to play Undead. He's been playing Riftforge Orcs, I think, for this year, or maybe last year as well. I can't remember. Super cool guy. We had a lot of fun. The game he brought. Oh man, I'm horrible with orcs. They all have strange names, and the units look the same. He had a giant. I know that, and he had his character on like the cat. And he had a winged. He had a horde of Hellstrikers, and he had a character on a Hellstriker. He had the Battle Shrine. He had some individual with like a hammer. He had another named Cyclops guy that was like defense 6, which was stupid good. And then I think he had like a flying unit, a horde of the Cyclops guys, and like 4 regiments of, I think they were just Riftforge Orc Legionnaires or something. We played Dominate. That game was going really well for me for like turns 2 and 3, and I was just starting to jam stuff up and shred a lot of stuff. And then turn 4, I didn't kill like a single thing. Not a single roll went into my favor at all, and my whole army, I got tabled. I mean, he by the end of the game, he had killed everything. We unfortunately got to turn 7. He was able to actually kill everything. But I mean, he had units left with like 13 wounds, or like 9 wounds, and it was like, really, like, I feel like if I would have had just like, if my whole, I'm not saying I need the whole army to work, but nothing to work. Like, so that's 2 games in a row where not a single thing on a turn went my way. Like, you just get shut down, and even if there is no clapback, because against like Justin there was none. Zach, I mean, he shredded me, he deleted me, because I was out of position. But even if there is no clapback, you've wasted a turn of the game. You still have a finite resource that is turns. And so I was unfortunately not able to really recover from that. And I mean, in Zach's game, I was really not able to recover because he destroyed everything. And it was just very unfortunate. It was probably the biggest upset this weekend, because the game didn't feel as clean and it didn't feel as tight, because he just rolled me over. Like, I got caught out in the open, and because of some bad rolls, and was able to just get wiped. And I'm not trying to say, I definitely don't want to say that, I lost because of dice. That's definitely not the case. I mean, Zach played his absolute best to counter my just punching at the throat. I guess that's what it was. And he positioned himself to basically say, if this doesn't work, you're gonna get punished. And that's what happened. And so to conclude all that with my list and the things I'm starting to notice about it is, I can take a punch like once, and then it's like I'm spent. I have to be on the aggressive and win fights from there. And against other armies similar to mine, that's a huge advantage. Against the armies that are a little more grindy, like ogres and orcs, I just have nothing. I cannot. I cannot manage to climb out of that hole typically. And so what that turns into is, if I ever have a turn at all with this army where something doesn't go my way, or I'm not even saying go my way, I mean even just roll average, I cannot get out of that hole. It's very difficult to. And that's something I'm really starting to see about the army that I don't like. I don't like armies that are incredibly reliant on dice. I want positioning to be what wins me games. And I understand that dice can and will continue to lose me games, because it is a dice game, and I appreciate that at its core. But I don't want that to be the absolute end-all, be-all backbreaker to my list. So it's probably going to be something I talk about with some of the guys that I know. It'll probably be something I start practicing a little differently at my local game nights. And so again, definitely not anybody else's fault. I mean, it's not like anybody, I didn't deserve to lose. I definitely probably should have positioned a little better. And if my opponents, Zach especially, give me multiple decisions, but they're all bad, well, that's still not, you know what I mean? Like, that's good positioning on their part. So we'll see. It's just one of those things I'm going to have to start paying attention to, and maybe getting better at. So again, had an absolute blast. No regrets at all. And thankfully, this is a little bit cheeky, but I've already qualified for Masters next year. So at this point, this is just, breathe a little bit. Don't take it too seriously, and use this time to learn, as opposed to stress about needing points to qualify. So that's the event, and that's kind of what I took from it. I'm going to have to start thinking about some shifting around there. The awards went out, I believe, so there was, I do not remember the second and third places for all these, so I apologize, guys. But there were 5 awards, I believe, or 6 awards, actually. There was the Countercharge Award, which went to Sean Belmont, which is awesome. You got exactly dead middle, which is pretty cool. That's always a fun. You can't try really to get that award. And I ended up actually just right below him. We were both like neck and neck to possibly get it. So he was 15th and I was 16th. So I thought that was pretty funny. Then there was the Best Bison, which went to, I believe, Jesse Garrett, and he had a really cool I believe it was kind of like a mammoth looking like bison. It was like basically like a mammoth warrior looking guy. It was really cool looking. There was a lot of really cool bisons there. I was really impressed. I feel like sometimes these event minis, people don't really care about them or try, and there's a lot of really cool ones that I liked. I should have got a photo of them all, so that's my bad, guys, but they were really cool. The other ones that were given out was Best Sport went to Bill Bluefrick, who's one of our local guys. This is the second or third best sports he's won. He's honestly just a really fun game. And he is a super cool guy. He's such a sweetheart. I don't think we've got to play in a while, but he is just a really cool guy. And actually, I hope he sees this. I want to play more. I feel like I haven't got to play him in a while, and I don't really get to play with my club a lot, I feel like. But I'd like for my newer guys and us to maybe start doing some like designated meetups or something once a month. And I miss seeing them guys. And Tucker too, which I think is his brother-in-law. I can't remember. And he got second sports, and that's what's funny is that's also Tucker wins a lot of sports stuff too. So I thought that was pretty funny. But I really like hanging out with them. They're super cool. And Bill and I used to work in the same company, and so we chat about that stuff all the time. And we're in the same field, so he's a really fun guy to hang out with. Then Hank Gooch got best paint, which is awesome. Hank does a really good job with his paint. His hobby is always top notch. Best general was Aaron Chapman. So, it's good to know that probably my most devastatingly, bloodiest, closest game was against the guy who won best general. So that's cool. Best overall was Mark Cox, which congrats to all these guys, but also congrats to Mark. He's gonna have to win Dojo now because that's there's a prize between the two events, Samurai Showdown and Bison Brawl. We kind of like sister up. That's something else, is that there's a trophy for who does the best combined score, I believe is what it is. So Mark's gonna have to win Samurai Showdown now too, so he can win the Red River rivalry trophy. So in addition to that, so I actually did win Player's Choice, which means that I had the most votes out of the 30 people from my peers that voted my army to be the army that they thought looked the coolest, or the one that they wanted to take the home, or that they thought looked the best. That's what the Player's Choice is that any reason that you would want this army, you would vote for it. I think I ended up getting, I think it was 7 votes. So that's always cool that, I may not have won any of my games or any of the other awards, but that the fact that my peers recognized my hobby and my work and my pride, my passion, it's always nice to be recognized by your peers. So that was my experience with the whole event. I had a great time with it. I feel like it's a fantastic event. I hope we do it again next year. I'm sure I'm almost certain we are. I've heard we've already got things planned out. So, or we're starting to. And I'm excited for it. I hope more people come. With 30 people, I think they said we want to try to get to 36 for the venue's size, but I think it'd be awesome. 18 tables, we can do that. I think that'd be great. I think that'd be fantastic. So, yeah, that's really all I've got to say about it. I've got a lot to continue and pick up and go with. I've got a lot of things to learn about, some list tinkering to do, and I'm excited for the next event. The next one's going to be Samurai Showdown, and I think it's in 4 weeks, down in Dallas. I'll be doing a review for that, and we'll see what happens. So, all right, guys. Thanks again. Bye.